So, have AI models made actual progress? This is one of the things that I hear about all the time when I debate people online about, particularly on X, about, or when I see people debating, even just when I look at people debating, and they go, well, look at how far AI has come. Look at it from like 2 years ago to now. And the question is, how far has it come? AI progress has plateaued below Geppetto 5 level. So when we look at the chart here, there's a chart right here. Let me just pop it open. You can see the growth rate in terms of the performance of these models as the years go by. And the performance basically has no significant improvement since 2023, which is right about here. The jump from here to up here is not as high as years before, which makes a ton of sense if it's true that these LLMs are not going to be what they are sold to be. There is a limit, there is a ceiling to these things. The Apple AI paper, which I don't think I've gone over yet, covered this. The improvement rates are not there. The improvement rates are showing that there is a far different story from the sales pitch of these LLMs, of these LLM systems. What's more is that even these, here we go. Even the benchmarks for these performance statistics are overfitted. If you don't know what it means that these companies look at what the benchmark questions are for these AI systems, and they will prep their LLM to pass the benchmark as best as possible. That means that the LLMs that these companies use to pass these benchmarks are not the same ones that you're using when you're doing your prompting or generating videos. These are just meant to pass the benchmark. So these performance outputs are probably even warped. And even though they're being primed and warped, there's still no proof of a significant increase in the last 2 years of these models. What's worse is, let me see if I can publicly. Here we go. Another sign of stalling is that despite all the hype, companies like OpenAI are now regularly not releasing internal models to the public, almost certainly because they don't work as well for the hype claims. It's true. I hadn't considered this, but it is true. If you go back and read some of the releases, like the release announcements, not just of OpenAI, but Microsoft, Claude, there was another one I looked at. If you look at the release announcements for some of their models, they are becoming increasingly less public. And I think that, yes, the video generating AI Sora isn't publicly available after nearly a year, probably because it sucks. So let me see. The amount of money that goes into it. A tech journalist, Garrison Lovely, wrote about this on Substack. If you have a way of outcompeting human experts on STEM tasks, but it costs $1 billion to run on a day's worth of tasks, you can't get to a capabilities explosion, which is the main thing that makes the idea of artificial general intelligence so compelling to many people. In other words, for the lack of improvements that we get, we're spending billions upon billions of dollars. And for those dollars, we get barely good outputs. So you have to think about it as what is the output of these models, even when you present problems to these models that would be say very complex, right? And they get one or two right at the tune of what? Billions upon billions of dollars. And then I thought that this led to a very good, let me see. I think it was Einstein. Here we go. So a mini thought experiment. This is such a good kind of closing statement to this article. Who do you think can make breakthroughs in physics? One Einstein or 1,000 physics undergrads? barring that none of the undergrads just happens to be an Einstein in waiting, the answer is what? Who do you think would most likely make a breakthrough in physics? And this is the problem with these AI systems. These AI systems barely make it to physics undergrad levels. Barely, just barely. And they do that pre-primed to the tunes of what? Billions of dollars. And that does not include the energy costs. That's not energy cost inclusive. That's energy cost exclusive, which means all of that water and electricity that's being used to get this output is not included in the billions upon billions of dollars we're spending to get barely anything. Imagine what you could do if you spent those billions of dollars on human beings who have scientifically and academically and statistically been proven to overperform, massively overperform against AIs, especially when it comes to complexity and creative thinking in terms of creative solutions and complex tasks. Humans beat. There was a study that I covered a few weeks ago, and it literally said that humans not only overperform on complex tasks with creative solutions, but they do so at 450 times more efficient energy rates than any AI model in existence. 450 times better energy consumption, more efficient energy consumption by a human to come up with solutions that vastly outpace anything that these LLMs can come up with on complex tasks. And by the way, when I say complex tasks, I'm not talking about like you go from 1 + 1 = 2 to 2 × 2 = 4, or I don't know, square root polynomial things like that. I'm not talking about like a big jump. That's what I'm trying to say. I really screwed that up. I apologize. What I'm talking about is something akin to what I actually screwed up saying, which is 1 + 1 = 2 is fine. Once you get to 2 × 2 = 4, then the complexity rate in consideration to what LLM considers complexity, it starts jumping dramatically. So it takes actually very little of an increased complexity to have the LLM think it's very big in terms of complexity. For what? Like, at what dollar? Well, what price point? At what energy point? Right?